very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on the Friday edition of the show. I'm Yemi Adeba. Well, tonight on the show, we will be looking at the list Coach Chelle has released for the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, the remaining two matches as the Super Eagles seek to reignite the chances of qualifying for the Mundial. We will also be looking at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup and the Flying Eagles getting their first win in Chile. We will also come home, talk about the Nigeria Premier Football League. Then, of course, we look at the English Premier League. Some have said that is the best league in the world, but of course, that divides opinion. That's the outlook of the show. You already know it's a two-man show. My colleague, Austin Okonakwan, is suited and ready as we go along on this ride.
For the greetings to you, Yemi, and of course, everyone joining us on the show tonight. It's always an action-packed world of sports, and thank God it's Friday. So much going on in our world of sports. The Premier League action is happening. I'll give you updates on the show tonight. You talked about it. Final redemption song for the Super Eagles. If they do not win their last two matches in the qualifiers, then it's all over. We'll talk about the list of players that have been released by Coach Chelle. Can they get the job done?
All right. It'll be important to see if they can get the job done. Let's quickly introduce our guest in the Lagos studio. Babajide Oreva joins us on the show today. Babajide, greetings to you. Thanks for finding time to be with us on the show.
Thank you for having me. Of course, the World Cup qualifiers are back. Mm-hmm. This time Friday, we'll be playing Lesotho. I just hope, just like Austin said, it's a final phase. You must win those two games if you want to think of being at the World Cup.
All right. We'll see how all of that pans out. We want to have a robust conversation on the show. Let me also quickly introduce Fisayo Dairo, Chief Football Writer of ACLSports.com. Fisayo, greetings to you. Once again, thank you for finding time to be with us on the show.
Very good evening to you. Good evening, Austin. Good evening, Babajide, and to you, Yemi. Of course, it's always my pleasure to join you to discuss sports on Sports Night.
All right, so let's just dive straight into the heart of the matter tonight. Let's start with the list released by Coach Chelle, 23-man squad for the games against Lesotho and, of course, Benin Republic. Let me just quickly go across now and reel out these names. Of course, you have the goalkeeper Stanley Wabali, Amaso Basoge, Adeleye Adebayo. For the goalkeepers, let's look at the defenders now. The defenders in the team very sure is going to come up. There you have it. Willem Troost-Ekong, Calvin Bassey, Oluwasemilogo Ajayi makes a return. Bright Osayi Samuel, Bruno Oyemechi, Felix Agu, and Benjamin Fredericks. Conspicuously missing is Olaino. Of course, you already know he's injured. There you have Alex Iwobi, Frank Oyeka, Halassan, Yusuf Abdullahi. He plays for the New England Revolution in the MLS. Then you have Wilfred Ndidi. These days he plays in Turkey with Besiktas. Let's look at the forwards. We're a bit top heavy. So let me see if the guys will agree with me. Ademola Lookman, Samuel Chukwueze, Victor Osimhen, Simon Moses, Sirudeses, Tolu Arokodare, Terry Murphy, Ako Adams, and of course, Olakule Olusegun. He plays in Russia. So this is the list. All right. So, let me start from Austin as we all begin to talk about this list. I don't always have problems with any list as long as you get the results. But my worry is just as Austin's poser, can these guys really do the job? Especially knowing that winning might still not get you a place in the World Cup. We've talked about the decades-long problem of creativity in the midfield, and we just end up having 2, 3, 4 players. The same set of players, no breath of fresh air. That's where my worry really lies.
Particularly at this phase of the qualifiers where we're not just chasing 1, 2, we're chasing 3. Benin Republic is on top, followed by South Africa, and we're tied on the same points with Rwanda. So it won't just be about what did South Africa play? It's what did South Africa play, what did Benin play, and what has Rwanda played also. You also know me, I'm not big on, why is this player here? Why is this player not there? When you're called to play for the Super Eagles, Nigeria senior men's national team, then automatically you must be a professional. You must be somebody who understands what it means to represent Nigeria at the highest level, particularly at this stage where, like never before, the Super Eagles must show workings and get the job done. Remember when I criticized Coach Eric Chelle that why you should, I think Fisayo Dairo was on the show that night. I said, what was the essence of that provisional list? Akot Daniels did not make the final 23. Surprises back in the team now. So I keep saying it, that our football has passed that stage where we should be doing the experiments, So that said, let me pass the baton to Fisayo Dairo. We saw Chidozie Awaziem the last time. He's not here now. I've just talked about Akot Daniels. At the time when we really need results, is Coach Eric Chelle still trying to experiment?
Well, there is one problem with the Super Eagles, which has not been said enough. And that problem is that some certain players have built houses, so to say, in the Super Eagles squad. So whenever it seems as though they are available, or whenever maybe they manage to score one goal or two, they get to invite them to the national team. We no longer look if they are productive for the team. We don't try to see if they are good enough for what the team needs at that point in time. And that speaks to the kind of examples we've given in recent times. Yes, Chidozie Awaziem is not listed this time, but guess what? Shemi Ajayi, who has not even kicked a minute since the last international window, has been invited. So the problem with the Super Eagles is that a lot of players have these entitlements that no matter what it is, whether they are good enough for the Super Eagles, whether they are playing well enough at their club sides, they will always find their way back. And like you're speaking about Akwa Adams, we are having 5 center forwards. I'm not talking about attackers alone. 5 center forwards. You and I know if Victor Osimhen is fully fit, he's not getting substituted. The worst that can happen is maybe he's replaced in the last 15 minutes if we have a healthy lead. And tell me, when have we had a healthy lead in this competition? Apart from the away win in Rwanda where Osimhen scored 2 goals. So when are the remaining 3 center forwards going to play? Why waste the invitation? So let me just stop there. But this is the genesis point of the problem of why these players. I'm not someone that criticizes players that they are not committed. No. From my own understanding, even we that play Saturday morning football, nobody gets to the pitch to lose. No, they want to lose, they want to win. But there is a measure at which we know that this player is not good enough for us anymore. He cannot serve purpose for us anymore. And that's
absolutely.
You let them leave and bring players that will work for you.
We don't want it to look like, the media started calling out names. I know some people are watching this show and say, Austin said this player is not good, that player is not good. No, but we're saying that this is the Super Eagles and we have reached a crucial stage of the qualifiers. Whoever doesn't show workings shouldn't be part of the team. Babajide Oreva, are you part of those who are saying, I do not care who is called to the team, just go out there and get us results?
Okay, so for me, when Yemi was reading the names, I tried to imagine how did we find ourselves in this position. Just last year, 2023, 2024, these guys were in the final of AFCON. We almost won it. The same players, now we are struggling. We've played 5 out of the 8 games. 5 ended 1-1. We couldn't beat Lesotho, even here in Uyo. Then I just wonder how. Then seeing the list today, I was surprised because like Austin and Desai already said, you can't experiment at this level. It still means that now we are not even sure if we are actually going to win the games. And if we drop points, then we are out. Even at this point, like Austin said, we are not we are not playing against South Africa. We are chasing 3 teams, and then you need results elsewhere. But it still boils down to the point that how did we get to this point? How did we mismanage it from the beginning?
Yes.
We were the first 3 games we were 1-1. We played Zimbabwe, played Lesotho, and also played South Africa. All in Uyo. I'm surprised that we got to this point. And like I say, this World Cup will actually mean a lot for Africa. And then if we're having, possibly we could have 10 teams from Africa, of course, 9 automatic tickets, and Nigeria will not be there in the US, Canada, and Mexico. Oh, come on.
For me, I don't know if I'm sounding like a spoiled sport. For me, the hangover it has cleared up. My eyes are clear. We're not going to the World Cup. So it's not even a matter of, why did we get here? I mean, that ship has sailed for me a long time ago. But my worry is, for some of us who are trying to pick the pieces, we're like, okay, well, the Nations Cup is fast approaching. Even if you're not going to the World Cup, let's have a stable team. Let's know what we're doing. This decade-long problem of finding creative players, doing things a bit differently. It seems, as much as you want to blame the administrators, there is part of the blame that will go to the team management, the team handling, player combinations, and coach. I've not been fully convinced with Eric Chelle. Personal opinion, and this is not a show to begin to criticize it, but I've not been convinced. It looks like he still does not understand this team. But my take on this is, the only way we get to qualify for the World Cup is if we end up as group winners. If we finish in the runner-up spot, it's not going to happen.
Yes,
so
not happen.
we're hoping for something to happen to, just like us, something happens to South Africa, something happens to Rwanda, something happens to Benin. That's a lot to ask for. But let's see. I want to ask Visaya Dairo something, because I listened to you, and maybe you should just give me a quick response so that we can all pass it around. In your mind, you said, okay, some of us that play Saturday morning football don't go to the pitch to lose. I agree with you. But in your mind, do you think the players are giving their best anytime they step on the pitch to play for the Super Eagles? And on the flip side, at home and abroad, is this the best we have?
Well, to be honest, number one, I will still maintain the fact that whenever they get to the pitch, they give the best of their abilities, with how they can do it. I don't think they've ever stepped on it. I've said it in some fora that a lot of them have never been to the World Cup before. I think only 4 of this current set, William Klus-Tekong, Wilfred Ndidi, Alex Iwobi, and Daddy Moses Simon. So the onus is on them. So I think they really want to bet. You cannot give what you don't have. There is football and there is African football. A lot of them do not know how to do this African football. Like a lot of people have argued, and I have said, which I also agree with, since this World Cup qualifying series started, we have changed. Okay, let me rewind it a bit. We failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup, right? Mm-hmm. And now we are on the cusp of not getting to the World Cup 2026. Now, I want to respond to some cries in social media about the federation that they should resign, this and that. Now, since we failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup, we have changed the federation presidents. We have changed coaches, 3 coaches. What's the only thing we have not changed? Is the players. If we check it very well. So you can easily see where the problem is. And now to your other question, where you say that I think I forgot that other question a little.
That, in your opinion, in your mind, is this the best available home and abroad?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We have a lot of unheralded players. We have a lot of unheralded players that will do a better job for us in the team. But because they're not playing the Premier League in England, they're not playing the La Liga, they are considered as not good enough. So, absolutely, these are not the best set of players that can play for the Super Eagles. Let me end it at that.
Yeah, but Fisayo, let's be sincere. It's looking like it's what we have. I agree that there might be other talents out there, but we haven't built the sort of system that can make us look towards those talents. For instance, the league and the home-based Eagles didn't give a good showing at the last, African Nations Championship. And our country, if you get an opportunity and you don't take it, then it's a problem. They forget about you. But that's a very, very important question. And if we can beat our chest and say this is the best that we have home and abroad, and if we are going through a series of 10 matches to qualify for the World Cup, after 8 games, only 2 wins, then our football has serious brain operation to
it's in coma. Let me ask Babajide, I hope we'll be able to leave this Super Eagles matter because I'm getting emotional about it. Now, we just saw the Three Lions manager, Thomas Tuchel, release a squad, didn't put Jude Bellingham, didn't put Grealish, because he's making it clear, I'm not starstruck. I didn't come here to worship you. I'm here to get results. And to the point that Fisayo made, which is why I asked him the question, it shouldn't matter if you're playing in Russia. It shouldn't matter if you're playing in Sweden. All we need to do is to check you out. If you're good enough, let's invite you. Just like he said, some players know they will play.
Of course,
Wilfred he knows, and no disrespect to Wilfred, he gives his best. But you see, there's something when you know that I had my place on merit, not because if I show up, I'm going to play.
So it's so sad that still the same thing over the years. Feel of entitlement in the national team, and then that's what's costing us. You could see players that even have the informed players are not invited, and then you expect the results. Like also, it's just disappointing. After 8 matches, you've managed to win two of the games, and then I remember when the draw came and we saw it should have been a walkover. By now, we should even be thinking of actually how to prosecute the AFCON, but now we are struggling. And honestly, just like you said, personally, I also feel we won't go. It's only if you want to. Okay, but of course you need to be patriotic, but we know that yes. It's a lot to ask for. You want South Africa to drop points. South Africa needs to lose, not even draw. You want
they
Benin
need to lose one of
those. The only other advantage is that we are facing Benin, so then we know that. So it's a lot to ask for that you've said, but I don't know. And then I know after this, if we don't, then we'll still have to go back to the drawing board. This is why I said we've changed 3 coaches between 2022 and now. It also means that if we do not pick the ticket to the World Cup, Chelle might leave before the AFCON, and then you still have this whole drama all over again.
It's really sad. I'm hoping that we'll get it right. It's a combination of factors. We need to get it right, and it is such a shame that players like Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman will not get to play in the World Cup in their prime. It's really a shame. We need to go on a break right about now. And probably that's our parting shot on the matter of the Super Eagles, because if we go, we'll just continue. We have more ground to cover. Let's go on this break. We'll return for more on Sports Tonight. All right, let's leave the Super Eagles and go to Chile. The Flying Eagles were seeking for their first win, and they were able to get it. It's heartwarming. Let's take a look at today's result. It's going to come up on the screen at some point. Let me just quickly talk about it. My heart was in my mouth at some point. I thought the boys were going to bungle it. I don't know if you felt so, but these are the results. Colombia and Norway played a goalless draw. That to me is a good result. And of course, Nigeria defeated Saudi Arabia 3-2. Babajide, quick one before I pass the baton to Fisayo and Austin. I thought the guys were going to bungle it. The difference between today's game and the previous game was that they took their chances. but the goals we considered were too similar, was a bit clumsy, lack of communication between the defender and the goalkeeper, and you concede such goals, or just one of everything might just end.
Okay, so this is what I feel about the team. The competition, you need to see, most of the teams play at par. Only that the Flying Eagles, they do not start their games well. But in the second half, then they pick up. Saudi Arabia, a very good team as well. Even Colombia had to manage a one-goal, defeat them 1-0. So I just hope they can eventually still manage to win that game in order to proceed. But I tell you, it's going to be a difficult game. I expect the coach to have seen the last two matches. Of course, he lost one, then he won the second game against Saudi Arabia. Fantastic. Even they actually know that what matters is to win that game. Eventually, they manage to eventually come back to win. I hope they can get the result against Colombia and, of course, get into the next stage.
All right. Also, I don't know if your heart was in your mouth, but at some point I was feeling, oh my Lord, I hope these guys don't mess it up.
I don't blame you, particularly because they were chasing their first win. But I love the fact that we saw raw football, raw passion. That's what we should be seeing at this, age grade level, not people coming and playing us coordinated football and some old man vibes that will make you start wondering if they are truly under 20. We scored, Saudi Arabia scored, we scored it against Saudi Arabia, got into it, and that fantastic free kick just sealed it for it was Daniel Bami's penalty that sealed it for the Flying Eagles. So it's a good win. Let's just see what they can do as regards that's crucial game against Colombia next week, Monday. Yeah, so am I convinced with the play so far? I want to see more. Fisayo, I have said it over and over again that we can actually use this as progression to see where we're going with our football, particularly with these ugly stories we're talking about as regards the Super Eagles. Do you see future with this Flying Eagles team?
Well, unfortunately, until, as far back as 20 years ago, that was when we had the Flying Eagles really providing us real future generation for the Super Eagles, where up to 12 of them graduated to the Super Eagles. But this set, I think they are too amateur for my liking. Why? Because the Under-20 World Cup ought to be a competition meant for league players. 18 is the professional age for football. So the Under-20 World Cup is meant for players that have had 1-2 years of league experience. But in this competition, we have a lot of players that are just being introduced to professional football. A lot of them, Maigana plays for Wireless FC. You've ever heard that before? Bameyi has only barely played in the NPFL for a few months with Bayelsa United. Akot never played in the NPFL. Odo Dinakokoro, maybe 2 games in the NPFL. So that's the problem with this current set. But at the end of it, I still think that we will be able to get up to 4 players if we are objective enough. I mentioned something about the Super Eagles earlier on. I want to quickly chip it in that there are a lot of players in the team that are not heralded at the moment. I mean that we do the team a lot of good. They are not heralded at the moment. 2 years ago, Benjamin Frederick was playing at the Under-20 World Cup. Nobody knew that on this day, 2025, 2 years later, he will be the best centre-back in the Super Eagles. This time last year, he was playing for the Under-21s in Brentford. But we've seen him. He's more valuable than Ekong, than Shemi Ajayi, than anyone. So look deep into these Under-20s. I'm seeing players like Israel Ajuma. I'm seeing players like Daniel Jaga in that midfield that, if given the opportunity, you will be surprised what they can do.
But then again, we know Nigeria, Babajide, and by the way, Fisayo, they will come for you. You're saying on live on national TV that Benjamin Fredericks is more reliable than Trustekong and the other defenders in the team. But I appreciate his growth. I appreciate that we gave him an opportunity and we can see. But Babajide, again, I don't know if it's the fans thing or the media, we're just so scared of trying out new players because when they fail, we don't give them an opportunity to learn from their mistakes and get better. Is that the problem with our football?
Okay, so I think it's an African thing. Well, while we were away, Yemi was even telling me about Guardiola. Yes, for coaches, try new players, and then once an injured player gets missing, a new player is in. Before the injured player, even when you recuperate and you get back, you need to fight to get the shirt. But
don't get back in.
Everything Fisayo said is right, because when you could see Benjamin, nobody, not taking anything away from Trust Ekong, but you need these new players to come and give the challenge. You don't just have chairmen in the national team. Yes, they are very good players, but of course you need players that will also challenge that position. But because we do not have them, and then everybody, sometimes we are digressing back to the but sometimes you just get into the camp of the team, and then you just know that something is not right about. It's just about pleasure. It's nothing really serious. We've seen I've seen several teams. I was at AFCON. You need to see the Ivorians. You won't even get there, but you go to the Super Eagles camp, then you just go and you feel you are catching fun because everybody is just lackadaisical. Go to you see every Tom, Dick and Harry in the national industry. So it's unfortunate.
We found a way to turn it to the Super Eagles. So let's just leave this matter. Let's talk about the Nigeria Premier Football League. Again, we're not impressed with what happened at the Chan, but I remember the words of the NFF Secretary General. He says, look, we cannot just look at this matter in isolation. There are so many other factors. Maybe we'll find the time to look at those other factors, because that is a problem we have to start addressing. All right, for match day 7, Benin Insurance will take on Nasarawa United. That game is tomorrow on Saturday. Let's look at the other fixtures that we have. Interesting fixtures for Sunday. Bara FC against Warri Wolves. Bayelsa United will take on Ikorodu City. Yaba Economic Warriors taking on Kano Pillars. Rangers International will take on Katsina United. Yaba Elephants, Eyimba will take on Rivers United. Definitely this is pick of the bunch. Kwara United take on Abia Warriors. Niger Tornadoes take on Kum Khalifa. Kwara United and Abia Warriors, 2 teams that got knocked out of the CAF Confederation Cup. Niger Tornadoes take on Kum Khalifa. Shooting Stars, maybe they've turned the corner. We'll see. They'll be up against Plateau United. So these are the fixtures for the weekend. Fisayo, I know we're pressed for time, but in a minute or two, if you can, look at these fixtures and tell us where you think maybe an upset, maybe an away win, maybe the exciting football, the venues that some of those things can happen.
Well, like you rightly stated when you were reading out the fixtures, Eyimba against Rivers United is undoubtedly the pick of the bunch, and it's a fixture that pitches second against third on the table presently, and is a return of the combination of Finidi and Jemi Olanrewaju to Eyimba, both men that won the last league title for Eyimba in 2023. So it's certainly going to be an explosive one. Eyimba are unbeaten this season. Rivers United they're unbeaten this season. So definitely want to watch out for. And I think the other game is the battle of losers. Kwara United against Abia Warriors in Ilorin. I was in Umaya yesterday to see the game between Abia Warriors and Remo Stars, and I was very impressed with what I saw. It was a very, very good game of football between 2 progressive thinking coaches and 2 business-minded teams. So I expect that to continue in Ilorin, because Kwara United beat Plateau United yesterday, and with what I saw yesterday from Abia Warriors, it's certainly going to be a fight to finish in Ilorin. So these 2 games that I've mentioned should have goals in them on Sunday, I think.
All right, same goes for Austin. The games where you think we're going to get the surprise results, best of football, and our entertainment. But I know we're going to get it from all the matches. But the ones you think stand out?
Definitely is Rivers United, Eyimba versus Rivers United. Somebody's unbeaten record needs to go, and with what we've seen of both sides, they definitely are up to something this season, I just hope that they won't give us a drab game of football. Let's see, proper football, let them show their clouds as top teams in the NPFL, and really, get us talking. So that's definitely be the game from the weekend. I want to see how Bayelsa United will properly pick themselves back up after those back-to-back home defeats. They need to show that they're a decent team, because if you had followed them last season, you could tell that they played good football. There's that team that really got everyone, talking. But yes, it's just 6 matches played. But when you lose back-to-back games at home, particularly the way they lost the one against Nasarawa United. So let's see if they can, actually bounce back and get us talking. Rangers is a team that can definitely, get us talking when they want to. So against Katsina, a resilient Katsina United side, the Changi boys, I don't know if it's the support from their fans. Whenever they charge them, there's just something that goes into them, and they play really good football. And there's, of course, Kwara United, Abia Warriors. Kwara United and Abia Warriors, they did just enough to win their rescheduled game. So they both have good momentum that will really get us talking. I think I've almost covered everything. But Babajide, those ones that are still left, what are you looking forward to? Can Shooting Stars give us another win?
Okay, so I hope they've actually turned the corner after starting the season on a very poor note. But of course, Plateau United, very fantastic team. But I still hope Shooting Stars will actually show that yes, we are back, and we are back to winning ways.
All right, we'll be looking forward to that. All right, let's travel abroad without leaving where we are. Let's talk about the English Premier League. That's our next port of call, and interesting fixtures to look at. All right, Leeds United will take on Tottenham. Arsenal will take on West Ham United. Manchester United will take on Sunderland. And of course, the game everyone is looking forward to, Chelsea and Liverpool. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in that one. These matches, by the way, will be played on Saturday. Then, of course, you have this match was played on Saturday. Other matches, let's see if we can get other matches, the ones to be played on Sunday. You have Aston Villa taking on Burnley. Everton will take on Crystal Palace. Newcastle United will take on Nottingham. Wolverhampton Wanderers will take on Brighton, Hove and Albion. Then, of course, Brentford will take on Manchester City. These are the games for the weekend. There's been a lot of talk around the Chelsea-Liverpool game, and of course the Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca has had to defend his players and talk about discipline, because a lot of people say, look, you're picking up cards. Do your players have issues with discipline? Let's listen to the manager of Chelsea, Enzo Maresca, talk about his team and talk about the issue of discipline.
You have to analyze case for case. When it's a red card for bad intention or for bad discipline, it's different compared to Man United red card or Brighton red card. In that case, it's just the decision that you have to take in 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Do I do foul or not? It's difficult. So we analyze case for case. Again, I don't see any discipline problem, even if we consider, I think, 3-4 red card. That is not something normal. But again, it's for different reason.
All right, Enzo Maresca there sharing his thought. I think it's only fair to balance it up. Let's quickly listen to Arne Slot, the Liverpool manager, share his thoughts. He has his own worries as well. Alisson Becker will be out for a while, and some of his players yet to gel. So let's listen to Arne Slot. We'll come back to talk some more on the English Premier League.
Alisson is not part of the squad tomorrow, and he's not going to travel to Brussels as well for the national team. So he will be out for Saturday. We knew that we were bringing in a very good goalkeeper, but when he plays his first game, that's always the best way of seeing that he's adjusted well or not. And I think we've seen in that game that he's adjusted really well to our club, which is not a surprise because he's a quality goalkeeper.
All right, welcome back. Fisai, I want to quickly ask you this, though we press for time. I want you to flip the coin and talk about both teams. The Chelsea project, do you think is on course? Then, do you agree with those who say, since there's a little bit of problem with Liverpool, injuries, player combinations, a lot of them, talking about Florian Wirtz saying probably it should be benched. So just flip the coin and take a look at the two sides and tell me what you think. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Number one, I think it is, my response to the first question will surprise many. And the answer is yes, the Chelsea project is still very much on course. Why? Coming into this season, only a deluded Chelsea fan will think that they will compete for the title. It's impossible with the crop of players they have. So the project remains finish in the top four, get to the Champions League. Even if they've been stuttering in their starts, there is a time in the season when it comes to February, March, where the average clubs in England, in the Premier League, will be out of gas. That's when teams like Chelsea will begin to rack up points here and there and eventually finish their aim. Chelsea are not going to be in the Champions League semi-final, and they are not going to win the Premier League. But top four, fine. And secondly, the Liverpool aspect, Chelsea are a side which have formed a trademark that whenever a big side are struggling, they get good results against Chelsea. Liverpool have lost their last two games. Against Galatasaray, I think they were not serious about it. From the starting lineup, they rested Salah. They didn't start Isak here and there. So I think they had an eye on the Chelsea game. And last weekend, Crystal Palace are a very difficult side. We could see they've got 19 games unbeaten in all competitions. So they could stop any team. If they can beat mighty Manchester City in the FA Cup final, then they can stop any team, and that's playing at the. So I wouldn't pin those two losses on Liverpool. Maybe because they've earned a lot of last gasp wins, and then people are expecting a lot from them. But having said that, I still think Liverpool are the team to beat against Chelsea because, like I said earlier, Chelsea always have a way of stuttering against big teams that are being poured on of form. And Mohamed Salah, he knows how to do it when it comes to facing Chelsea.
All right. Let me go to Austin. I think he has an update for us. And of course, he probably wants to share his thoughts on the Liverpool-Chelsea game as well.
Yeah, live game going on in the Premier League. Bournemouth taking on Fulham. It was Fulham that took the lead in the 70th minute through Sessegnon. 8 minutes later, Semenyo equalized for the host. So it's 1-1 at the moment. I think we've said just enough about the Chelsea situation. I still believe it's psychological. It's a mental one that Enzo Maresca needs to find a way to, get some. I don't know. I thought winning the FIFA Club World Cup was going to do it, but as I've said, with what I understand, with some of the friends that I have who are youth coaches in some of these Premier League clubs, a lot happens behind the scenes that somehow affects players. I can say that there was a time that was the problem with Arsenal. That is still a problem with Manchester United, to an extent Manchester City, and there's no way Chelsea is not suffering it also. I know there was a time a particular club, it was so huge that they were wondering how can they miss out on Victor Osimhen. Those sort of talks will make the strikers and the team start wondering, wait, are we not here? Are we not reliable? And that in a way will affect, productivity. Manchester United, that's a team that is going through so much. And I've not seen a manager that is as obstinate as this guy called Ruben Amorim. He doesn't want to touch that system. Everybody's talking to him. He said, the only way you can touch that system is if you touch the manager. They're going to play Sunderland. Sunderland is very decent this season. Yes. 11 points out of 6 matches played. They sit comfortably ahead of Manchester United. If they don't win this one, I think that would just be it for Ruben Amorim. But he say, hey, my system is good. My system can be productive. My system can win matches. Ruben Amorim on the show tonight.
When you look at the game against City, was the first thing that you think when the game starts is the system? I think you don't think about the system in that moment. And Brentford, I don't look the way we concede goals, the way we create chances. If there is nothing to do with the system, that is my opinion. And I'm not saying that this team would play better in the different system or not. That is not my point. My point is, if I look the games that we didn't win, the most important thing that when I watch the game is not we lost because of the system. That is my opinion. Then people have different opinions. That's okay.
I don't understand. Babajide, this man, well, say your system is not bringing results. You say you're creating chances and you're going back to look at the game. You're blaming every other thing except the system. This Ruben Amorim and Manchester United relationship, what can stop it?
Okay, so for me, I think if it does not get the win against Sunderland, I think it's the final. And then you know that it can't take the pressure. It doesn't have the chest to actually manage a team like Manchester United. Sometimes I wonder when United will have penalties and then the coach, a Manchester United coach will actually cover his face and can't even, no, you can't handle. And then I feel, remember when Ronaldo was leaving, Ronaldo said a lot. I think what's the problem of Manchester United needs a total overhaul from the systems, from the possibly the board and whatsoever. You need a new Manchester United. It's only the name that we know now. The Manchester we used to know is not what we have. But however, if they do not beat Sunderland, I think that's all for him.
Okay.
And
our party shot has been prepared to go. Quick one. Do you think Manchester United currently have the stomach to sack another manager at this point?
Even if they do not have, what they need now is to actually start with that.
Okay. Fisayo, your party shot on the show, do you think Manchester United, they've done it a lot of times and people are saying, look, can you stop this? Do you think they have the stomach to fire a manager? Is that what they need now?
Well, I'm lost of words, but really, they have to sack him because they finished what last season, 16th or 15th? They might finish lower this season. Is it until they get relegated? So you have to sack him if you have to sack him.
Okay. I guess that's a good place to leave you with Fisayo. Fisayo, I want to thank you for your time on the show, and hopefully we'll do this again some other time.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. I can see Austin smiling. Do you know what we don't know? Is a letter signed somewhere?
I don't know. This Manchester United. Remember, that was how they did with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We kept wondering if it was a marriage relationship. You know, they just attach their coach to they're so attached to their coaches, getting results. And Amorim has actually failed with his leadership, in his leadership role, the way he talks in the media, the way he comes out and make it look like, oh, you all are just attacking me. The result isn't there. This is shambolic of Manchester United. Brentford, they were struggling until they met Manchester United and they got a fantastic 3-1 win. Anyway, let me let you know before I go, updates coming from that game between Bournemouth and Fulham. Bournemouth, they've turned it around. Kluivert with the goal. So it's Bournemouth 2, Fulham 1. Maybe Samuel Chukwueze, Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey, they'll find a way to, rescue Fulham, get a point, or even give us a dramatic late win. That's the show in London. I'm Austin Okonakman. In everything you do, remember to keep talking sports. Bye for now.
All right, this is a wrap here as well, but I want to thank Babajide Oreva for his time on the show.
Thank you, Yemi. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's the show today. It's the last one for the week. Enjoy your weekend. You see us again next week. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Bye-bye now.